tools. One is the operating cost calculator, and the other is the Bouquet Sales generator. Now they're kind of linked. The operating costs calculator tells you how much your operating costs are. The Bouquet Sales Calculator tells you how many bouquets you need to sell to break even. Now, if you were to come up over here and look for your operating costs calculator, which is there, and you can put different templates in depending on where you are. I'm going to go for the UK one. It asks you for different things. So the idea of all of these is so you don't forget to include something in your calculation. But let's say the rent is $5,000 a month. It would then calculate what it is a year. Let's say you don't know what your monthly is, but you know that you pay $8,000 a year. You can pop that in and it will tell you what your monthly is. So you can give the information in the easiest format for you. You know, some things you're going to monthly, like your rates. Some things you're going to have a yearly figure. Maybe it'll come from your P&L from your accountant. But we're just going to fill in some figures here. These are not particularly, I'm just kind of giving a little guess here, but we're just going to put something in each of those. So it goes down. You can see all of these different things. You're going to need to just maybe find out what you are paying. If you haven't started business yet, you might need to do a bit of research so that you can work out what is realistic in all of these figures. I am just going to get it to things. So you can see here, it is now showing, I'm not going to fill them all in, but it gives you an idea. If there's an expense that is not listed here that you want to list in your operating cost calculator, you can add it here. So then here it will show you what your annual cost is and then what your monthly cost is and what your, it'll show a really nice graph to show what is your biggest expense. If you're an employer, what you will find is that most likely your biggest expense is actually going to be your employees. Put a typo in, but it gives you, it gives you a really good idea of where your expenses are. Now you can use this information now to work out how much bouquets you need to sell to break even. What I will say here, if you are wanting to make sure that you're covering enough to pay yourself, make sure in those figures you include the amount or your target amount that you would like to pay yourself as the business owner. Now, when we come to the calculators here, the Bouquet Sales Calculator, I'm going to click that. Based on what you've worked out from that operating cost calculator, you'd put your annual fixed costs in. We're going to go for an example one of annual fixed cost of 100,000. We're going to say over here that the price that we're selling that for is 40. We are making 15 profit per bouquet. And let's say we put £12 of cost price of flowers in that. You would then put how many days that you operate. Let's go for 6 because that's probably the most likely. However, if you've got a schedule where you work half days and things like that, you can actually put all that in there. Then you hit calculate. It will then tell you, based on that information that you've put in, how many bouquets you need to sell to cover that operating costs. And it's quite an eye-opener, especially, if you are not selling what you need to make there. Maybe you need to make some savings, or if you're wanting to invest in something, you maybe need to think, well, do I have enough to be able to cover those costs? If you don't know how much profit you're making, hopefully you'll know what your average bouquet is. If you don't know what profit you're making per bouquet, you can get this information from the pricing matrix. However, do just remember to add back in the labour portion, because in your operating costs, you've already covered your labour and things. Otherwise, you're double accounting for it. So I'm going to do that like that. So that tells me in this particular instance how many bouquets I've got to sell daily, weekly, monthly or annually. Hopefully that helps, and hopefully you are making a profit.